You never really understand a military base until you've walked it alone, past midnight, when the lights hum like insects and the desert wind presses dust against the windows. When ranks don't matter and the truth between people shows itself. Fort Meridian, a dry, wind-blasted installation in New Mexico, was the kind of place where rules were posted everywhere, yet actual discipline lived only in the shadows. And for Lieutenant Maya Reeves, discipline wasn't just a rule. It was oxygen. She moved through the base like a quiet blade, precise, controlled, respectful. No swagger, no noise, which is exactly why some men assumed she was weak. They had no idea who she really was. They had no idea what she had been trained to do. They had no idea what she carried in her file, the parts of her record stamped and blacked out, the parts even her commanding officer couldn't see. She let them assume. She let them underestimate her, because in the military, the loudest ones always revealed themselves eventually. And tonight, they were about to. It started 3 weeks earlier. Maya had been temporarily reassigned from Naval Special Warfare to Fort Meridian for a joint intelligence exchange program, something nobody on base fully understood. She arrived on a hot afternoon, uniform crisp, hair tied tight, face steady. From the moment she stepped off the transport vehicle, looks followed her, curiosity from some, agitation from others. Women rarely transferred into what the enlisted population jokingly, but bitterly, called the mud pit, a base known for internal politics and old-school personalities who didn't like change unless they were the ones ordering it. But Maya didn't come for politics. She came because she had been instructed to observe, not interfere, not reprimand, not fix, just observe. But she was never good at staying quiet when something wasn't right. The first week passed with small, unsettling signs, malfunctions in training equipment that should have been inspected, unauthorized exercises, a culture of push the weak until they break, instead of train the team until we win. And the ringleader of that culture was Sergeant Trent Hollis. He was tall, built like a cement truck, always boasting about deployments that nobody could verify. He demanded respect, not through leadership, but through intimidation. His crew spent their days either mocking the softer soldiers or forcing covert punishment drills on new arrivals. And he hated Maya the moment he saw her, not because she offended him, but because she didn't fear him. To someone like Hollis, fear was currency, and Maya didn't pay. The confrontation that would expose everything happened on a Thursday. Training schedule had run long. The sun dipped behind the mountains, leaving the motor pool in shadow. Most personnel had returned to barracks or the mess hall, but Maya stayed behind, reviewing equipment logs. She stood alone in the maintenance bay, a single overhead light flickering above her. Quiet, focused. Exactly how Hollis liked his targets. He and his two closest buddies, Corporal Dane Murdoch and Private Ellis Grant, waited outside, pretending to pack away tools. But they weren't hiding their intentions well. Maya heard them whispering. She kept working. She was scanning a serial number on a weapons case when a metal door slammed behind her. Heavy footsteps. 3 sets. She inhaled, not in fear, but in disappointment. "Lieutenant Reeves," Hollis said, voice dripping with artificial politeness. "We need a word." Maya set the case down slowly, turned, hands relaxed by her sides. "Yes, Sergeant?" Hollis stepped closer. Too close. "You've been asking questions," he growled. "Kinda disrespectful, almost like you don't know your place around here." Murdoch smirked. Grant cracked his knuckles, loud on purpose. Maya stayed still. The hum of the fluorescent lights echoed off the concrete. "My place," she replied calmly, "is wherever my orders put me." Hollis's jaw tightened. "You think because you came from the Navy, you can walk around here like you outrank history?" Maya didn't answer. She simply watched him, and that unnerved him more than any words could have. He stepped in again, shoulder nearly touching hers. "This base," he said, "follows a certain culture. We take care of our own. Outsiders need to learn." Maya finally spoke. "I have learned," she said. Her voice remained quiet, level. "That's not what you think." Hollis scoffed. "Yeah? What exactly have you learned?" Maya exhaled once. "That you've been violating at least 5 operational protocols. That your unauthorized drills are endangering soldiers. that you falsified 2 maintenance reports, and that you've built a little fear-driven empire here." Hollis froze. Murdoch blinked. Grant swallowed. Maya tilted her head slightly. "And I also learned," she added, "that you assume I can't stop you." A slow smile crawled across Hollis's face, ugly and confident. "Oh, I'm counting on that." He nodded at his men. A simple signal. They spread out, blocking the exits. A cheap tactic. Predictable. Maya already calculated her options, but she stayed still a few seconds longer, giving them one last chance to choose something other than stupidity. Hollis cracked his neck. "You really think you're going to fix this place? Lady, you don't know what you just walked into." Maya finally turned her palm slightly upward, a micro gesture of final resignation. "I wasn't planning to do anything," she said, "until you forced it." Her voice tightened, just enough to carry weight. "And remember something, Sergeant. I'm a SEAL combat master. I don't need rank to end this." That sentence, quiet, calm, spoken like a fact, hit the room like a shockwave. Grant faltered. Murdoch actually stepped back. Hollis laughed too loudly, too nervously. "You think I'm scared because you said some cool line?" "No," Maya replied. "You're scared because you don't know what I can do." And then, she moved. The fight lasted 9 seconds. The first hit wasn't even a hit. It was a pivot. Maya shifted her weight, redirected Murdoch's reaching arm, and he stumbled forward into a tool cart with a crash. Grant lunged next. Maya sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and rotated it just far enough to drop him to his knees. Not injure, just incapacitate. Then Hollis charged. The biggest. The angriest. The one who had no idea how slow he looked to her. Maya ducked beneath his swing, planted a palm flat on his chest, and used his own momentum to drive him into the wall so hard the hanging metal tools rattled. She didn't break bones, didn't strike unnecessary targets, didn't escalate, because SEAL combat wasn't about violence, it was about control. When Hollis staggered, gasping, she stepped back, giving him room to breathe, room to realize he had lost before he even started. Murdoch groaned from the floor. Grant clutched his wrist. Hollis wheezed like someone punched the air out of him. Maya adjusted her sleeve, composed, collected. "This," she said softly, "is why discipline matters, because without it, men like you get people hurt." Hollis looked up at her, hatred and fear twisting together. "You'll pay for this," he spat. "You think anyone's going to believe you over me? I run this place." "No," Maya replied. "You survive here because people are afraid. Fear isn't the same as respect." The sergeant snarled, but he couldn't stand, and for the first time, he understood she wasn't his victim. She was his consequence. The next morning, Maya filed a formal statement detailing the violation patterns, the unauthorized drills, and the attempted confrontation. She included no emotion, just facts. Major Halden, her temporary commanding officer, listened with irritation. "Lieutenant, this could ruin careers. Hollis has seniority. He's well liked by the old guard. And your background, well, most of it is classified. Hard to verify your version." Maya kept her gaze steady. "You have surveillance cameras in the maintenance bay." Halden blinked. She continued. "I also documented 2 of his drills from last week. The injuries, the falsified reports. You can investigate all of it." Halden rubbed his temples, frustrated. "You weren't supposed to interfere." He forced my hand. "This base is already under scrutiny. You know how this will look?" "Yes," Maya said. "But how it looks is not my responsibility. What happens to soldiers under my watch is—" Halden looked at her then, really looked. Not at the young woman standing in front of him, not at the officer with a temporary assignment, but at something else, someone forged in pressure, someone unafraid of consequences. Finally, he sighed. "All right, Lieutenant, I'll review everything." He thought she'd be satisfied. She wasn't. "And I want to speak at the disciplinary review," she added. Halden's head snapped up. "Why?" "Because the younger soldiers won't speak unless someone does. They deserve to know silence isn't their only option." Halden stared at her. "You're turning this into a moral crusade." "No," Maya said quietly. "I'm turning it into what the uniform is supposed to stand for." 2 weeks later, the room was packed. Hollis sat stiffly at the far end. His face was bruised, not from Maya, but from days of stress and fury. Murdoch and Grant wouldn't even look at her. The reviewing officers asked questions. Maya answered. Precise, controlled. no embellishments. But then came the key moment. An officer asked, "Lieutenant Reeves, what motivated you to report this?" Most personnel choose the path of least friction. Maya could have cited policy, or safety, or chain of command. But she didn't. She let the silence settle first, then spoke slowly, because leadership is not about power. It's about responsibility. Responsibility to the weakest soldier, not the strongest ego. Her voice didn't waver, and if we let fear rule a base, we lose the right to call ourselves a military family. Even Hollis stopped breathing for a moment. Her words weren't loud, weren't emotional, but they carried weight, the kind that comes only from truth. By the end of the hearing, the decision was clear. Hollis lost his rank, his position, his influence. His little empire collapsed overnight, and as the soldiers on base watched it unfold, something shifted in the air. Subtle, powerful, overdue. Fear died a little. Respect grew in its place. Maya's reassignment ended 2 days later. She packed her things into a rucksack, preparing to fly back to Coronado. As she walked across the tarmac, a voice called out behind her. It was Private Ellis Grant, the youngest of the three who confronted her. His wrist was still bandaged. "Ma'am," he said awkwardly, I just wanted to say thank you." Maya stopped. Grant swallowed hard. "I knew things were wrong here, but nobody ever fights the system. Most of us are too low-ranking to even try." Maya nodded. "That's why those with strength must use it for the right purpose." Grant exhaled shakily. "I'm gonna try to be that kind of soldier someday." A rare softness touched Maya's expression. "And you already are." Grant straightened, saluted sharply, and walked back toward the barracks, a little taller than before. As the transport plane lifted from Fort Meridian, Maya looked out the window. The base shrank below her, a small cluster of buildings in the endless desert. A place with problems. A place with potential. A place where she had changed something, even if only a little. And for her, that was enough. Because the true measure of strength isn't how loud you are, it's how many people stand a little safer after you've passed through. Maya closed her eyes as the engines roared. There would be another mission, another broken place, another moment where courage was needed, and she would be ready, as always, quiet, disciplined, unflinching, a SEAL combat master. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's refusing to let fear dictate your actions. One honest voice, one brave stand, can change the entire culture around you. Strength is not dominance. Strength is responsibility.